money's worth, the show that focuses on value. I'm Judith West, and our guest today is Nancy Wackstein, Executive Director of the United Neighborhood Houses of New York. I say it right?
You said it exactly right.
Good, thank you. I almost screwed up on the name. But anyway, so tell me something, Nancy. Let's just get that out of the way, and then I will have some serious things I want to know. What does that mean, United Neighborhood Houses? Is that like a community? What does that mean?
What it means is it's an association. I head a nonprofit organization that's an association of 39 community centers, neighborhood houses, settlement houses. They go by different names, but what they all are in New York City are community organizations that provide a variety of services to people in need, low-income people, moderate-income people for the most part, like childcare, like senior centers, like after-school programs, like mental health programs, like workforce training and development, job training and development.
Very diversified.
Very diversified. So the name United means all of them together. Neighborhood is obviously they're all in different neighborhoods around the city, and houses actually refers to the term settlement houses or neighborhood house.
Yeah, and I think for a lot of folks that don't live in New York and have visited or going to visit, New York City, despite its density and size, is very much a city of neighborhoods.
Well, that's exactly one of our taglines. We say New York is a city of neighborhoods.
Yeah.
And so these agencies or these community centers are usually the hubs in their particular neighborhood, whether it is in Greenpoint, Brooklyn, or whether it's on the Lower East Side of Manhattan, or the South Bronx, or the Upper West Side. So the organizations are all over.
And these services are without a charge?
Well, it varies. Some of them, there are fees involved, like childcare, daycare, depends on the income of the household, but it's basically low cost. After school, day camp, these are services that are available based on a sliding scale, as we say, on family income. And so we're not like a private fitness club or a private day camp.
You're consumer friendly.
Right, but I think very affordable, and also I think very high quality.
Yeah, good. I'm sure of that. I mean, first off, that's one of the things that we always vet. But particularly, the idea that these services are available and they're organized and it's available in the community.
Yeah, and it's very it's accountable. I mean, these are not things that spring up overnight. Some of our agencies have been in business for over 100 years,
right? So
they have good reputations, and
your funding it's transparent.
Totally transparent, and
right.
When you are a licensed, registered not-for-profit in New York State, you have to meet certain standards, exactly. and you have to post your audit results and your financial information online.
All to the good.
Right, and because these agencies get a lot of city and state funding, they're also monitored quite extensively by those funding sources.
You guys have to work a little harder now with all the budget cuts, right?
It's a very hard time.
It's a very hard time.
That's why I told you I was feeling tired today.
I don't blame you.
The city and the state, and I think this is true across the nation.
They're wearing you out.
The governments are facing very hard choices. Very hard choices.
Yeah. So let's go into some of this now, but particularly, I want to talk about, yes, we know there's hard choices, but also folks like you are going to nth degree to keep as many of the options open. And I want to talk about some of those options. Is New York City a friendly place to live and grow old?
Oh, yeah. Well, you know what? I think it is and actually New York City has been working on something called its age-friendly initiative.
Exactly. That's why I'm asking. We had somebody on the show a couple of weeks ago that is part of that working, and that I was surprised to find out what a large percentage of the population in New York City and its boroughs falls into the category of aging.
Absolutely. And the mayor's office has projected by the year 2030 there's going to be a 44% increase in the number of older adults, meaning people over 60 and older. As look, I'm a baby boomer. That we are the ones who are going to be outpacing the growth of other age groups.
And in fact, in today's New York Times, there's an article written by Sandra Day O'Connor, former Justice of the Supreme Court, as with others, about Alzheimer's. And I forgot the year she said, but there was a year in the not too distant future, in the next decade or thereafter, where a baby boomer will reach the aging category every 8 seconds.
Well, and really, and what we have been advocating for is that the city and the state adopt policies now, start talking now about what it's going to look like in 20 years when people like me are in their 70s and 80s. And are we prepared as a society? Are we prepared as a city? I would say probably not. There is not, there's a big crisis right now in long-term care. These are people who
what are you
cannot
doing?
care for themselves.
Do you do anything about long-term care?
Well,
Nancy?
some of our agencies provide home care. This is in-home care for people who are frail or disabled, and they need assistance with things like bathing and meal preparation, etc. There's a real shortage. It's very expensive, as you know, and so there's a lot of people who are not going to qualify for help, and it's really.
What are those people going to do, Nancy?
Well, back in the maybe 1950s, there was an expectation that family members, I think, primarily daughters and daughters-in-law, remember, this was a time when women were not in the workforce to the extent they are now, would care for elderly relatives. Well, that reality has changed almost entirely, right?
Yes.
We have what is it? 3/4 of women are in
They're
the workforce.
working themselves, right?
Right. So you can't stay home and care for an elderly relative. I think that this is a crisis that is about to erupt because Medicaid is, the government subsidized health care.
Right.
Long-term care is the fastest growing portion of the Medicaid budget. And it's interesting, both of our gubernatorial candidates
in New York State.
Right, in New York State, because the election is going to take place next week, are saying that they have to cut that spending. So I worry, well, so then who's going to pay for home care?
And frankly, it's being said nationally there has to be something done about the entitlement program.
Right, but yet people are living longer. I mean, the fastest growing portion of the elderly population is 85 plus. Fastest growing
is 85 plus.
Right. Yeah. They call it the oldest old. Well, it's becoming more
the
and more.
Oldest old, that's
the oldest
good.
old. Right. It's becoming more and more common for people to live into their 90s, even to 100. I'm sure you've seen all those.
We did something, I don't know if it was last year or the year after, the year before, Hallmark sold over 100,000 happy 100th birthday cards.
Well, that's exactly.
We were shocked.
Yeah, right. That shows you. And one of the things that worries me, and I'm not saying that everybody who's in their 90s is frail and is going to need home care, but I think most of the information we have shows that you get frailer as you get into your 90s.
And I think it starts to accelerate as the older you get.
And so both mentally, and physically. And so who is going to care for these people? And, even the Obama health reform plan, anything having to do with long-term care has been pushed way out. And
way out to the long term.
Right, to the long term, yeah. And so I think this is really one of the worst social service situations that I've seen. I've been working in the social service field for over 30 years, and I think this is a looming crisis. And right now, is when we have to start thinking about how we're going to deal with it. These hundreds and thousands and millions of baby boomers, who's going to take care of them?
I know, and that's exacerbated by the fact that many of the baby boomers, and plenty of the aging too, don't have the kind of savings, investments, portfolios that they thought they had.
That's
I mean,
sure.
Folks who thought that they had plenty in bonds, or the little old lady that had General Electric was going to live off General Electric. General Electric has died and is hoping to come back, or General Motors.
And it's a much more mobile population now. Right. So you could. Back in the day, I think you could expect that your children would live in the same town where you were living.
And that they might take care of you.
Right. Not true anymore. People are scattered all over, and they move frequently. And so if mom is in New York and you're in Texas, who's taking care of mom?
Right. Yeah.
So I think that there's...
that is exactly a very big problem that I guess you folks are wondering yourself how you're going to deal with.
Well, we've been urging, the city and the state to begin
you are
planning.
lobbying,
We're
right.
lobbying for some planning around this issue and many of these issues. And it's not that everybody needs home care, but also seniors need places to go, like senior
They need
centers.
socialization,
Yeah.
and you are offering.
So most of our agencies offer senior centers, and and let me just say one thing about that. There's this notion that senior centers are just sitting around playing bingo. Well, the modern senior center, I think what's happened in the last decade or so is that senior centers have gotten very hip, and they understand that they have to attract a younger group. People maybe in their 60s and 70s who want, Pilates classes, who want yoga classes.
Want to learn the computer.
Computer labs are all over
the place.
So I think senior centers, which maybe used to have a kind of a stick in the mud bad rap, are now getting very contemporary and, almost like fitness, offering some fitness center programs.
And frankly, I mean, that's what's happened to a lot of the aging. They may be, their birth date may show them aging,
right.
But in terms of attitude and activity, they're younger.
Right. Well, didn't Gloria Steinem say that 70 is the new 60 or 60 is the new 50?
I think she might have said that somebody said it's a new 40. That's a stretch, I think. But anyway, but we don't have a lot of time left, and I'm really happy to hear about have you here. But I want to shift to the other end of the spectrum. Kids are in trouble these days.
Kids are.
1 out of 3 is obese. Parents aren't home. Urban school kids aren't achieving. We don't
high
have
poverty rates.
High poverty rates, high drug rates, high death rates. What do you in a very small period of time left? We used up our time with the other spectrum. What are you guys doing for that? For those
I
kids?
think early care.
Doesn't it bother you a lot?
Totally. I mean, we have many programs focused on youth, many programs focused on early childhood. I say the answer is excellent early childhood programs like Head Start programs or daycare programs that are education programs, not babysitting, education programs that give kids a head start so that when they get to kindergarten.
Head Start means Head Start.
Yeah, so that when they get to school, they're prepared to read, they're prepared to sit still in a classroom. I think that we have to invest in early care and education.
So I want to close on a positive note here. And
Let's
thank
try.
You for here. Yeah, the single biggest tip to help our society is to start at the very young with the early childhood, because after all, nothing is better than learning how to read and write. Nothing is better than learning your own nutrition to avoid obesity and heart
Right.
disease and diabetes. And
Learn how to get along with others.
I mean, though that kind of learning goes along with the child up the spectrum, right?
Right.
And very often leads to healthier, better, productive adults.
You know what? I used to work on the area of homelessness, and I would be asked, well, what's the answer to prevent homelessness? And I used to say the same thing. I said, Head Start programs.
All right, Head Start. Okay. Well, thank you. I know we're running out of time, but you do a great service, and if you don't get the recognition that you deserve, I hope you get some from us, okay?
Well, I'm glad to be here.
The name of this show is Getting Your Money's Worth, and you guys give your money's worth
Thank you
every
very
day.
much.
Thanks for being on the show.
All right.
You're watching Getting Your Money's Worth. I'm Judith West. We've had Nancy Wackstein, Director of United Neighborhood Houses of New York. Thanks for watching.